Ooh, what's going on, everybody? If you're new here, smash that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment. I love reading y'all's comments. In this video, I went up and I had a IRL grappling match, but afterwards I had a beautiful conversation and interview with EA Game Changer A. Romero. I'm not going to spend too much time here because the interview is huge. I'm going to link his YouTube in the description. I love y'all. Enjoy the interview.
All right. So the first question, I just want you to define what it means to be EA Game Changer.
So with the EA Game Changer stuff, with that position, at first when I even got the position, I wasn't really aware what it was because I had been doing tutorials on my channel, and I think I was able to kind of find a couple of niche things in the game that even some of the developers had a hard time with. But in short, a game changer generally has not only either they do have some type of knowledge in the background of martial arts, but also with helping out within game development itself. So there are guys who are game changers that aren't the best players, but when it comes to coding, when it comes to like navigating through like nodes and things of that nature, they do a really good job. They help out with the AI stuff, like AI function, way something beyond my capability other than like playing the AI and then giving them feedback, and then they know exactly how to tweak the AI to the idle, what idle has this to the minor launch. So there's a lot of little details like that, and I think a lot of people kind of, obviously, like I'm probably one of the more well-known game changers as well as Marshall, so then there's a bit of a misconception, like, oh, you have to be a really good player to become a game changer, but it's a little bit more than that, and there's obviously a lot of time of having like knowledge in MMA and understanding what exactly is going on. And also just being able to, so when you're having a discussion with somebody at a business level, you have to make sure that when you're like addressing certain things, like I've addressed multiple things, and I'm very headstrong. EA knows that I'm super headstrong. I've like had a petition against them for fuck's sake, you know. And you make sure you present things in a way that you can break it down to not only to like somebody who's really in depth with MMA, but you have to remember, not everybody. I know in EA Vancouver, a lot of them, those guys are blue belts. A lot of those guys actually do mixed martial arts, but then when we're talking about the higher ups that care about capita, money, et cetera, you have to break it down to a level where you can present something for them and then how they can implement that based on whatever's available.
Okay, so how did you actually get in the position to be a game changer? Like, who presented it to you, and kind of, or did you kind of just dive in and get that by yourself?
I didn't dive in. I had no intentions of really. When I started my channel, because the whole draw of the UFC games for me was like, oh, it's supposed to be like realistic gameplay, and I played like around Inside the UFC 2, so I was kind of, the game didn't feel as realistic to me because everything was on a straight line, so I was pretty annoyed. I'm like, well, this is always a straight line. There's nothing coming off of like a slight angle where you see the locomotion in 3, 4, and 5. And from UFC 3, when that started up, I was like determined to play in a way like I'm gonna play either just like the fighter, and I'm not going to be doing the cheesy bullshit that a lot of other people were doing. And I stayed consistent through that throughout like seasons and seasons of the game, and then people started kind of like seeing like, oh damn, this guy's good. Then they started seeing my channel. I started beating some guys. It's funny, ESFL, right? Everybody knows Ed Parker, right? So Ed Parker was like this undefeated guy on ESFL, and I ran into him on my championship. I had no idea who the fuck he was, and I beat him. So I happened to show up in the ESFL stream, and I'm like, oh yeah, I beat that guy, just casually. I'm like, oh yeah, it was a good fight. People start fucking attacking the shit out of me. Like, you fucking liar, you didn't beat Ed Parker. I was like, what the hell? And I'm talking to Ed, and him and I get some fights, and we go 2 and 2. And they're like, oh shit, he's like legit. So what got people away, like I was beating good guys, but I wasn't just beating good guys with like, this is the #1 thing you gotta do to win by any means necessary. I was beating guys my way. And when EA kind of saw, well, how I looked at it is like art on a canvas. We're basically doing virtual art on a canvas. And they liked the way that I was able not only to play, but I was able to explain the mechanics better than their own tutorials. I said time and time again, like their tutorials are not the best. I learned a decent amount, but then there's a lot of stuff I had to figure out on my own. So it got presented to me, I think probably a couple weeks before. They had a couple guys in contention for running. And aside from a couple of the AI guys and moveset guys that they added in terms of like they need somebody who not only was like a high level player, but could translate real life stuff, like, you know, like grappling and whatnot. And how can we make that logic into the game, so to speak, right? So, for example, grapple advantage, right? Yeah. So obviously the game doesn't have every single, like, doesn't have most of the takedowns I was taking and whatnot, right? But if I were to say, okay, there's let's say something that people say, it's not realistic when it comes to, oh, if you shoot that many takedowns, you're gonna be tired. Well, that's a pretty bland statement because I can be not tired shooting or hitting as many takedowns as I want based on the resistance of my opponent. So how I would word it, which is something that I'm also trying to work on, is like, all right, if you guys are new to GA, when the shot is taken and it's defended and it's a neutral or neutral drain, if the person who's at a higher advantage for grapple advantage, meaning a better position, a better setup, when they initiate the takedown, it's going to be less strain on them because I'm coming from a more efficient position. Now, if the defender has higher GA, then they'll be the ones like, that's like if you try to shoot from really far out and you're ended up extended, that's how it should be viewed at. So even though the game itself doesn't have all those positions, by me having the knowledge of grappling and then being able to play that into like the game, that's how usually how most changes work. So I mean, basically like that in itself is why they got me on the team.
Yeah. So you were a game changer for UFC 4 as well.
Like starting like pretty much like heading into it, yeah.
Okay.
But we didn't get it. We didn't. This is already publicly known. We didn't even like the game changers for like. We didn't even know about like the whole UFC 4 development thing. So like way late until it was already like almost fucking done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was like the tough part about that. So.
So EA didn't even tell you guys like what actually goes into being a game changer.
No, we figured it out like for like 3 and then going to 4, but there was so much changes in like like management and everything that we were kind of like left in the dark. That's been said like publicly multiple times.
Oh, okay.
So that's what with 4, and there's a couple guys that like they had the opportunity to become a game changer and they fumbled it themselves, and a lot of them, some of them felt like they were slighted or they were jumped over for the position, but they had the position to do the exact same thing that they said they wanted to do for quite some time. They fumbled it and they went up to it. And that's how it ends up happening. There's no real like favoritism of who really gets to become a game changer. It's something that you have to do community-wise. I forgot to mention too, I was also like on the forums for Operation Sports. So I was helping people not only like in the game for my YouTube channel, but I was in Operation Sports, like sending people links and like explaining something to them, telling them send me videos and like, oh yeah, explain what you did wrong here and all that stuff. So that played a part too.
Okay, so you mentioned, this actually isn't a question, you mentioned ESFL in both answers you have given me so far. How do they fit into the whole EA UFC scheme?
So Z Hunter, if you're familiar with, yeah. So Z Hunter, he's a black belt, right? And he was the one that kickstarted the whole ESFL thing in general because he was part of a camp with Kinetic and they wanted to make something. He loves MMA, he loves martial arts, and he wanted to actually make something happen for the series. So ESFL was something. Started from homeboy, like it was a dream. And it gave players a platform so they could get seen, and it went from that to officially ESFL merch being in UFC 4, like EA actually helping out with the Vegas funding and whatnot. Like a lot of things were able to happen because of one dude and a couple of others, but one dude who has a love for martial arts, a black belt, and he wanted to like give gamers who were also participating in martial arts like a chance to shine because a lot of times you see really cartoony games or it's like an FPS shooter. So UFC is a very niche genre, and I think it was like really cool for like ESFL. Obviously, like you figure out things, you're figuring out metas for stuff. What's the rule set? What's this? And it's tough because a lot of people, especially when it comes to money, when it comes to egos, it can ruin things. But it's held up pretty strong so far. They just started up a new season. Like I'm not participating yet because I'm busy doing the stuff I got to do here. But once I'm done with that, then I'll be competing.
Yeah, I had seen your name on the new season. I'm more on the primetime side of things, so I work with primetime a lot. But yeah, I see all the things ESFL does. One thing that the community may not completely know, though, there's a couple owners of ESFL.
Yep.
It's not just you.
Yeah, not just
It's Boiler.
He's not Luber anymore. There's somebody else I forgot, to be honest with you. Somebody else I forgot.
I can't remember the third person either. I know it's Boiler and Z Hunter. But ESFL had their own merge. And so are they also game changers? Z Hunter and Boiler?
Z Hunter's a game changer.
Okay.
Z Hunter's a game changer. Boiler's not a game changer.
So next question about game changers. You guys get paid?
Yeah, we get paid.
Okay. What does the game changer salary look like?
Depends on what you do.
What does game changer salary for Marshall look like?
Depends on what he does.
Compared to you?
Definitely more than me. Definitely more than me. But yeah, definitely more than me. But I get my own things and I get a nice little monthly thing what I get to do. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. It's very well deserved for the ones that make edits. And King Diaz, very great pickup as a game changer.
He's not a game changer.
Huh? He hasn't been.
No, he's not.
I thought, but he's been.
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
He's not a game changer?
Not a game changer.
They didn't make him one?
Nope. Why would he be a game changer?
Why wouldn't he be a game changer?
Why would he be?
King Diaz?
Or why would he be?
All right.
I want you to think about it. So, for example, I just told you that there's multiple positions that are filled out.
Yeah.
Would you oversaturate if the positions are filled?
I would not oversaturate. I know what you're saying. I wouldn't oversaturate if the positions are filled. Well, look at it this way. If you have certain content creators that do certain things.
So there's content creators in terms of like pushing out content and whatnot. it wouldn't be necessarily like a game changer type of thing, but he could be one of those guys where he can get like that content creator access. It's kind of like a borderline type of thing, but a game changer is in the development of the game itself.
I'm just shocked. I thought he was.
No,
because
no.
they've been posting a lot of his shorts.
Yeah, but I'll also say this too, with that itself, a lot of people were harassing Marshall Mind, calling him a shill, harassing game changers, calling them shills and whatnot. Yeah, so when he ended up getting that position where, being able to share stuff with EA, the same people that were criticizing everybody else were ready to applaud. When they said, a lot of those people, when they held that point, they're like, oh, I'll never do some stuff for EA, I'll never sell out for EA, I'll never do this. In this life, everybody was going to do something for position. What happens, the issue is when you change your morals, when you change how you actually operate, when you change who you are as a person. I've never, from the consistency of my channel, when I became a game changer until who I am now, that's never changed. I've always, like I said, I've mentioned the whole petition I had against EA. I wouldn't be opposed if King Diaz would become some type of like game changer at some point. He'd also have to up his knowledge and gameplay itself. Like, he'd have to up his knowledge on how he does things himself, and then we'll see how he works from there. I think he'd be better on the marketing side of things. I think that's what they're probably looking to do with him, and if that just so happens to happen for him, that'd be fucking awesome for him, because I think he's done a good job of being articulate within both people in the community. But I also, with that being said, with him being able to get that, that view on him from EA, it's exposed a lot of people with their own hypocrisy that they are very unwilling to see, which circle back to the initial point that I said, that a lot of what really came down to is a lot of envy. A lot of people want to be in a position where they think they can make demands. They want to be in a position where they say they can do a set amount of changes. But with the same amount of power that you have of circumventing changes and making things happen, you're also going to realize it's very difficult to get a lot of them through. And that's where it's really, really difficult. I'm sure you know in the workplace that you try to get changes done at work, like some things can't happen right away. And that's life in general. And I even said it too, like if the game was like, especially with this patch, especially like the game wasn't like at this point, this patch I would have been, I'm out. Yeah, like, like just like I'm out. Like I've played other games aside from this, where some people kind of forget. Like I don't want to play this game. Like I don't want to play this game. I have like the least amount of play time in UFC 4 compared to every single pro player, even in UFC 3. So I've just been focused more on quality versus quality.
So was the build that you guys initially played, the one that you and Marshall were playing on his YouTube, was that different than what was released?
It was like a lot smoother. It was like cleaner because the netcode, I'm pretty sure like the netcoding was a little bit different. Even during the beta, honestly, the beta was actually pretty close to what we played. Stamina was still relatively high, which you said to them, but a lot of people had noted like there was less crashes, less camera fix.
As a game changer, how close are you to like the actual dev team?
We're like maybe like 1 or 2 stages away from the dev team. I will say this, they've been opening up the communications much, much more, because we've said like, especially because of UFC 4, it's like, you guys can't expect big progress with changes if there's too many middlemen in between us. So I can definitely say like it's been much more open. There's a couple things planned for the game changers to go over there. And that's going to be huge because it's been a while since there was been like a big Vancouver trip or anything like that. So once that gets all situated, I think that's going to be really, really progressive work. Because honestly, like I always say, like they're really obviously smart with like netcoding, gaming, and actually developing a game. But it helps to have the people right next to it. It's easy online. Online we can do a lot of things. A lot of things can happen online. But it's going to be a huge help when we're right there, right by them. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
And the devs have been real cool. One of the devs is a former game changer himself, so like he's been real cool. And
so I do know Steve Dave. I'm cool with Steve Dave. I don't think he's a dev though.
No,
he's just manager.
Yeah, community manager.
Community manager. Eves is a dev.
Yep, Eves is the one that used to be a game changer.
Okay,
before my time.
Okay. Now, so about the actual devs, I think let's get forward. How big is the dev team?
Not as big as I think it should be. I don't think it's as big as I think it should be. Which is why, like, I know, like, the running gag is, like, the resources thing, which is why I say, too, that the whole thing with, like, them going to, like, they switch over to Frostbite, and Frostbite's to make the game look smoother, be smoother, which it is. Like, I played UFC 4 and compared the two side by side. I'm like, okay, so 5 does obviously look better, it plays a little bit smoother, but, I would say, like, I didn't understand, like, the big EAs, big EAs thing with, NFL, the NFL games, the FIFA games, those have a lot more resources than EA UFC.
Yes.
EA UFC did a good amount of sales. EA UFC 4 did a good amount of sales. 5 did a good amount of sales. I don't know if it did as well as UFC 4 because people had been waiting for 4 for a long time. 4 was like 2.5 years or some shit in development. 5 was a little bit less. and I just didn't understand. I'm like, all right, well, look, it's odd that we didn't have enough. But I will say this too, it wasn't just myself. The one thing that kind of like helped out work, you guys see, like, we're getting more fighters, and like patches, like that's helping because I was pissed, Marshall was pissed, every fucking
We were all pissed.
When the game fucking came out and there was no new fighters. I was like, whoa, what do you mean?
And half of us paid $100 for the deluxe edition.
I told people don't pay for that shit.
And, well, all the content creators obviously did, and then all we got was fucking copy and paste Leon's from 3 games ago. And
Was he in the game 3 years ago? I don't know.
Leon, the young Leon, I'm
Young
pretty
Leon?
sure.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, but I do like the alter egos that drop.
No, I like the
Not
alter-
to-
I like
not to
the
shit
alter-
on them. I do actually enjoy.
No,
them.
I like the alter egos. The alter egos are mine. But
Those have been my favorite so far, like the Jose Aldo and Robbie.
Ooh, boy, I can't wait to drop the Jose Aldo video.
That shit is fire. I dropped mine the other day. That shit's so fire. Do you know if any UFC devs get pulled for other projects? Like are any UFC devs also involved in like other EA games?
Yeah, I think they are usually pretty involved. Like Steve Davis was involved before on Madden, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So that's like a big thing. I think if they're more cohesive, I think they'll do a lot better for the community in general. I think it's important that there's like everything's like in sync, which is why it's in terms of game changers, like all of us are like relatively like close. We all know each other. We're all familiar with what we want, and then we discuss things constantly. And like, all right, how are we gonna present it to this dev team so we can actually get our shit done and get this point across here? So I think like the big thing too, like back to when we were talking about how the game like released and whatnot, like it's a little bit like the stamina's way too high. Right? To a casual person, it's not gonna be too high because what is a casual person gonna do? Casual person is gonna fucking punch the air 30 times, and they're going to gas out no matter how much stamina you give them. And I told them that, like, you guys cannot make this cardinal sin of a mistake where you guys, oh well, this is working out for us, or this small specific group of people that aren't good at the game. But so this is a good amount. No, it's not a good amount because if I'm able to manipulate it based on the stamina pool, based on these specific group, because remember, the striking itself, the core of its striking has been the same because they rebuild forward, right? Tekken, every single Tekken game is the same, but not the same because it's a core thing. So Calibur, the same, but not the same. Like sometimes they add some new stuff. There's like a specific thing that works. Okay, they found a formula that works. How can they keep constantly adjusting it? It made no sense for the stamina to be as high as it was. I understood why. That it was because, oh well, we're gonna need more stamina when we grapple on the ground. That's cool, but there should be other things that should be tweaked before giving a huge abundance of stamina. So I'm glad they're figuring that out, and obviously the testing matters too, like where they, for example, like I think the body damage changed into like long-term stamina, as opposed to it being like the super wombo combo. Like you land like a 3-punch body punch combo, and it's like the guy's done. Like early round 1 because like very rarely does that even happen.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that that's all with the new patch. I like that they've done that too, because the stam was a big problem, and so is the body. Like actually, when you attack the body at first, you didn't really get rid of stam. Like it didn't like.
It was more damage focused
than
stam focused. When body work is an investment. I think a lot of people. What the issue is, a lot of people they look at outliers and they don't look at what's consistent. I think what you see is more consistent. Is, for example, Sodiq Yusuff versus Edson Barboza. They were landing split body uppercuts, body hooks all over. Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz landed some nice body shots on him. There's Max Holloway against Frankie Edgar, Max Holloway against even Volkanovski like the first time, Volkanovski against him. Doesn't automatically mean, oh, you're gonna get gassed. They're professional athletes. Only like really the low tier are gonna get super gassed. But there's so many little details, right? You're fainting, you're actively moving, you're worried about this. That plays a factor when you're playing, like in real life too, which is why you'll see a fight where this guy, Colby Covington, can throw 568 strikes against Robbie Lawler because why? Robbie Lawler's so scared of the takedown, he's just showing up. He's just blocking, he's not doing anything that's actually making Colby think. Then you see his output versus Kamaru Usman, where Usman's still a little bit higher than him, and then against Leon Edwards, where he was fucking low as hell, right up until round 5 when Leon tried to go for a finish and just gave him top position. Why was it lower? Because he had to acknowledge that there was a threat coming his way. That's how things work. And a lot of people, they just focus on, oh, numbers, this record here, this, that, this is how it should be. It's much bigger than that.
I agree with that completely. So we've talked about resources. Big joke in the community because the resources are apparently a joke. You've said in a tweet before that you believe the budget from 4 to 5 wasn't much different.
Yeah.
And some will either go farther to say from 3 to 4 wasn't that much different either. That all the budgets have been similar. is that like a community thing that the EA just does not want to invest into the UFC community? Do you feel, or?
I would say, here's the weird thing about that. Because I tried to tell my man, y'all even more scared. Like, if y'all don't care, then y'all wouldn't be talking to us, right? Like, then y'all wouldn't be out here trying to. I mean, they wouldn't have gone out of the way to get Diaz to go in, right? Because he's a creative guy. They didn't care. They wouldn't be trying to reach out to those guys. If they didn't care, they wouldn't have had Marshall on their team. Where a lot of people vouch for, hey, we need to get Marshall working with EA. So it's for UFC 4. I remember the big hit that I think that the franchise took was when we lost Jeff Harrower. I don't know if you know him. Woo, brother, you don't know that man. Jeff was like a godsend, bro. Like I know it was before I was a GC. Most active on Twitter. He got the most changes done, and he was just able to.
He works for another company now.
Santa Monica.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
God of War.
Yep. I know who
so,
he is.
And Marshall would tell me all the time, like, dude, like when we were able to tell Jeff things, like he was able to, like he would stay after, like work on stuff, and that was just of his own volition. That was just him as a person. And then some of the other devs they do stay after to do stuff, but Jeff was like. It was like almost like if you play Dragon Ball Z, like everybody's fighting the fucking like big bad, and Goku comes in. The motherfucker's like Goku. When it comes to that stuff, like he just comes in. He's like, damn, he's that dude.
Yeah.
So they had lost Jeff, I think, halfway through development to like Santa Monica, which was because he was behind like the clinch getting more locomotion, having it be more fluid, more movement oriented, and then we used the main guys behind that. That was like a huge like hit.
Yeah.
So now like. See, maybe I might be doing some mocap in Vancouver to fix some things, maybe. So we'll see. But I say that they're definitely doing a better job. I still think that's more of a big. It's not the EA devs. I said this is like the EA devs themselves. Like from what my discussion with them, they care about the game.
Yes.
They ask us stuff like, hey, how can we do this better? How can we do this? And they're constantly asking stuff. Big EA, like the EA HQ, that's where I'm like more my like big concerns are over.
Well, that's where the money comes from anyway.
Yeah,
the money comes from the headquarters, and the devs and the managers, they're just doing their jobs.
Yeah.
So that's why they actually care about the game, because that's their job, or they wouldn't be getting paid every day.
Yeah.
So it is the higher ups. Now, why do you think they're not investing into the UFC, the higher ups?
I think that what they tried to do, which ended up failing, which is why now they do a lot of extra stuff. They try to do what they did, from what I hear, what they did to FIFA and Madden. We're like, oh, okay, we're doing this. This is just enough that we can do. But unfortunately for them, fighting has so many nuances that they can't afford to do that. Otherwise, the series is done. Like I guarantee you, like they can't do something like this for UFC 6. Like the game has made a good amount of progress. I think because consistent with UFC 3-4's patch schedule, usually it always takes about 6 to 7 to 8 patches or so for the game to be like, oh, this is fucking great, right? They can't do shit like that for 6 because if they don't have new things like parries, if they don't have things like more pummeling in positions, more takedowns in positions, even like better, like the camera work, I think the camera moves around too much for me personally. I like it when the camera's not too crazy.
Yeah.
Even different camera angles. Like the game will, even if the game is better, it's gonna look the same because you guys are presenting the same angle. Even if it was like a bird's eye view type of play, people are, oh, this is so much different, right? It's different in that way. So they probably try to like tiptoe their water in it and trying to be like, oh, let's see how this works, and then they immediately got burned. And that's why now they're like trying to like fix everything as much as possible, which is good. That's how it should be. Like, all right, hey, your consumers are pissed off because you didn't do this and that. Game changers are pissed off because this didn't get done. Your dev team needs shit so they can get things better. You gotta hustle because you guys have a 10-year deal with EA with the UFC. And if the UFC doesn't see that you guys are making progress with the game, I'm pretty sure they're able to break the contract.
Yeah, and Dana's already had problems with EA in the past, so I'm sure Dana's not scared to strip it. But of course, this isn't really his job to worry about either.
But if you think about it though, how would it not be? Because you get more ticket sales. You get people playing a video game. What does playing a video game? It gets you introduced into martial arts. Hey, this guy plays this game. How about I get into MMA? Oh, I've been playing this shit. Let me see if I can try this shit out in real life. Because it's a different thing with the EA games. It's an MMA game, and it'd be a huge fumble, especially on Dana's part too, to not capitalize on that. Why wouldn't you not give your fighters an incentive to go up to Vancouver? Hey, we throw you 20 grand or 15 grand or something. You go up there, you let them mocap you, you stay at a hotel, and then you get added into the game. If I recall correctly, like who was it? There was a couple fighters, I forgot the name off the top of my head, but some of them got scanned in, and they just didn't get added because they lost like a specific fight or something like that. Because they had a specific strict criteria with getting added in before. But now at this point, it's like they almost have most of the top 15 flyweights still missing. My boys in flyweight. I want all the damn flyweights in there. But it's just. I'll definitely say like EVA for UFC 6. Like I better see some parries. I better see some more punch positions. I better see some more takedowns. Now the only thing we can do now is just keep tweaking the gameplay until it's like a right state where when things happen, some people don't feel cheated. Because the worst thing that people can feel is when you're playing a game, and it's not even just EA, UFC, any game, when you feel like you're getting cheated. Nobody wants to feel like they're getting cheated when they win or lose a game. People generally don't have a problem with losing if it's like, alright, fuck, he got me. He got me fair score. I fucked up. So you hold yourself accountable, like, damn, I fucked up, that was on me. It's a whole different thing when it's like, all right, this is readily, easily available to get exploited to the high account, and the games haven't addressed it. It's pretty bad. If you look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they were game. Like their game is just coming back. That game was like up here in terms of playtime. Then shit started going downhill because they weren't patching things fast enough, and now the game's getting right back up. Because they've been patching so much stuff based on community complaints and whatnot. And that's what EA has to do to keep the game afloat. In terms of numbers, like their numbers actually have been pretty fine. It's just not where they probably thought they would have gotten it to, and that's on them. That's completely on them. And now they're doing the right things in terms of like, you know, with the social media, getting more interactive. ESFL starting up soon, so we'll see how that plays into things. And maybe if there's another live event that I'll go and win, we'll see how that works too.
That would be awesome to have another live event so we can go talk shit to each other. What was I gonna say next? Okay, so you mentioned UFC 6 like 5 times. I think we're like 2 years away from that.
Yeah, of course.
We're probably a year away from even getting into development. However, I feel like the initial issue when we first saw 5, and I'll get into my last question after this. When we first saw 5, first it came out with the CGI trailer. And then after the CGI trailer, we actually saw a gameplay. And you can't lie and say it doesn't very much resemble 4.
I said earlier.
It very much resembles 4. And I feel like that's why everybody was so initially upset. Because it's like, it's so similar. And a lot of people, I mean, I was getting my hopes up. I wanted a game closer to UFC Undisputed 3.
That game, the thing is, that game, I'll tell you that game, like, they have the positions and stuff like the animations, right? That was the issue. Like, all the animations are like staticky, robotic-y, it's like UFC 2 animations, but they have no positions. So, and their submission mini game was like easily exploitable. That game had no patches, by the way. I wasn't playing that game, like, when I started playing it, I wasn't playing that. When I played it, was like, that's a story for another time. But when I played it, I looked things up, like, they never changed this, they never fixed this. Yeah, there was no patches for that game. So a lot of stuff was like super exploitable on that game. But as an offline game, that game was fucking great to play offline. It was really fun to play offline.
And there's a whole, you're definitely familiar with them. There's a whole moderation team. I believe it's a team of 3 people, the dev team for UFC Undisputed Forever.
Well, it helps that the game's already made.
So they just add the mods and stuff. And which is awesome. But
I talked to them a couple times.
Yeah, I talk to them all the time. They're cool. Do you think that for 6, maybe since, you know, Undisputed 3 had all the positions and EA does have the animations, they could maybe get those positions?
I think so too. My only question is because they moved to Frostbite, because I don't know what engine Media 3 was on. I don't know if it was on Ignite. If it was on Ignite, I don't know. That's where I'm like, they honestly should do that. Like we said, I'm like, why don't y'all just transfer these animations from the previous game into here? Because there's like a couple animations. Like for example, like from 4 and 5, like they added a bunch of new striking animations. Some fighters are much more valuable than others because they have these extra fighting animations and whatnot. In terms of like CGI footage, which you said, like almost every game does that. Almost every game.
Every game does do that.
Every game fucking does that. Which is like, if you look at, for example, when I play a Plague Tale, I Plague Tale Requiem. Like the fucking CGI, like in the middle, even when you play the game, it's beautiful, but when the characters are talking, like in gameplay, like their lips very, they don't fucking open. But I'm like, oh, it makes sense. It's the gameplay. They're not gonna like waste their time on that.
Yeah, we know it's most trailers are CGI.
Yeah.
But what did Marshall mean when he said, "Oh, I wouldn't worry too much that it's CGI"? You hear me?
What did he mean when he said that?
Well, because most of the striking animations that were being used in the CGI was from actual like gameplay. It was just from a different camera angle, which is one of the points we brought up. We're like, hey, you got that camera angle. How about we play that camera angle? Because if you actually, there's a couple like motions from that, like some of it was like gameplay from the CGI, and it just tweaked it a bit with like the animation. It was actually from the game. Like one thing I like, for example, the transition from like the double leg slam from like Michael Chandler, that was like a special animation. But then we saw the 1-1-2 from Amanda Nunes. You saw the kicks from Valentin Shevchenko. All that stuff was actual the in-game animations that they used in the CGI, which is what he meant by that. Like you could kind of see too that, for example, the Alex and Izzy exchange at the end. That exchange itself was like game exchange.
Yeah.
The final portion of the ground count was not, because you saw fucking hammer fist.
Yeah.
You don't see that, but you don't see the hammer fist. You don't see the hammer fist until like you actually knock the guy out in UFC 5 currently.
Yeah.
You don't have like the choice to do the hammer fist, which goes back to my point of autonomy. Like you remove the autonomy from people are gonna get pissed if you remove that from them. So that's what he meant by that.
Okay, that's fair. And that brings me to another point. Why can you only throw one elbow?
So, okay, sure, perfect. Skin forward. So, if I have you here, right, there's nothing that's stopping me from posturing, right? I'm not gonna hit you, obviously. If I go elbow, there's full commitment of my body weight trying to hit you with this elbow. This is where it's unpostured, right? So if I go and elbow you, I can't really go here because you're all the way down there.
Yeah.
So if I go down here, boom, what does the fighter automatically do? He collars my head and brings me back down. So it's a defensive measure from the person's body. I could do multiple elbows if I hold you here. This is a separate posture position, which we don't have. And that's not even in Undisputed, if I'm not mistaken. It's not UB3. So that point comes from a point of realism, body mechanics. People go, oh, he only throws one elbow. That's unrealistic. But a lot of people don't know.
Until you just explained it, I would have said, why the fuck's he only throwing one elbow? That's unrealistic.
And then
now I understand. You just explained it to me. Yeah. I mean, that's why we're having this conversation.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. So then a lot of people throw out the term unrealistic, just to be controversial. But when you actually go and do the thing and you're aware of what's realistic and what's not, you're like, okay, this is why this works. It's the same shit. Like my issue with the striking in terms of momentum. Like you've ever noticed that I don't ever throw forward slip hooks or anything like that, because it really only makes sense if you're throwing it like when you're stationary and then you go in. But to throw it in a combination with my real life momentum, me going forward, and then to hit a hard shift there and my back looks already moving forward, it just doesn't make sense. It's not really physically possible unless I pause my initial movement to do so.
Yeah.
So that's that's just one example. Everything that I say comes from an actual point of realism, and like how can I translate it from real life to the game? So that answers your elbow question. If you have any other, like I can show you any other position. For example, like the ground and pound sweeps and all that stuff like that, I can show you that too. Which I think should be locked behind higher jiu-jitsu transition levels.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause that shit is like, for me, like it's possible. We've seen like Paul Craig do it. We've seen like Jack Manson do it. But I don't think that it should be like one slip. I can do like, for example, if you were my full guard, right? You're my full guard, you throw one across here, and I slip here. I can slip and end up here because you just gave up the position, right? Because you're committed to the punch, and then I slip to the outside. That creates the opportunity to hip escape, and I can use that as a form of back take. I can use it to maybe push you in half guard. That's how that works, like in the game. That's exactly how it happens in the game. But I'd probably end up in back sitting. But the other one, like say the flower sweep, that's not even a super common sweep in MMA. Not that I recall it. I don't think it is. So that one, I feel like that one should be locked behind like the highest, the highest of all levels of like sweeps. Like that should be like BJJ transitions level 5. And I've been like pressing. Believe me, I've been pressing them on that shit for like a while. And not just me, like Z Hunter and Marshall. Like, we're like, yo, we all do jiu-jitsu here. Like this one's more feasible. Like even the half guard sweeps, like some of those stuff makes sense based on posture, commitment to the position. But some of the sweeps to straight like full mount, not so much.